All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Sarah McKay, and I serve as Director of Market Development here at the National Corn Growers Association. We're excited to have you all today to talk about the fourth Consider Corn Challenge. This is the informational webinar. We're going to review about the challenge background, a little bit about NCGA, talk about some of our previous winners, and then go through some more of the technical details on the fourth Consider Corn Challenge. Then we're going to talk through some frequently asked questions, and then we'll have some opportunity for some live question and answer from those of you that are tuning into this Zoom live. I do want to take a note, make sure everybody knows that this webinar is being recorded and will be available after for viewing purposes. So with that, like I said, I just wanted to take a moment to introduce the National Corn Growers Association and what we're working on, and then we'll go through the challenge background, previous winners, a little bit more of the technical details, FAQ, Q&A, and then next steps as far as the wrap-up. So the National Corn Growers Association is a grassroots organization of 40,000 plus members from across the United States. We are a federation of state corn growers associations, and through this network, we represent the interest of all 300,000 corn farmers in America. Our mission is to create and increase opportunities for corn growers. From our perspective, one of the best ways we can create these opportunities is to continue to develop new markets for the corn we produce now and into the future. NCGA has long had a strategic plan, and as part of this plan, we have developed and emphasized a vision, a renewed vision for American corn production, and that is to sustainably feed and fuel a growing world. To meet this vision, we set a strategic objective to establish new uses for incremental bushels and increased demand. Accomplishing this task fell upon the growers and staff who make up the Market Development Action Team at NCGA. They are also the same growers that are sponsoring this challenge, and I'm excited to announce that this year we're increasing the prize pool to $250,000. This is an increase of $100,000 to the prior three challenges. In particular, our growers see the Consider Corn Challenge as an avenue to prime the pump for innovation and meet the demand from consumers and companies around the world for bio-based products, materials, and chemicals that not only utilize corn, but leverage ongoing interest in sustainable solutions. So those of you that are listening are probably wondering why the fourth Consider Corn Challenge. We at NCGA and the growers that we represent know that we are not alone in the belief about a new renewable future. There are a significant number of researchers, like some of you who are listening, that are out there looking for new ways to produce primary chemical building blocks. What we're asking is for researchers to share their ideas through this open innovation format. We launched this challenge on April 17th, and we ask you to submit your proposals by June 30th. At that point, we will have a panel of industry experts evaluate the proposals and help us select the ideas that win. We will then publicly announce the winners at an event in October 2023 at the Advanced Bioeconomy Leadership Conference in San Francisco. So before we dive into the challenge specifics, I want to talk a little bit more about why this challenge is happening. This chart better frames why we decided to pursue this contest once again. Our members are the most productive, sustainable producers of corn in the world. Every year we produce a surplus, as you can see on the screen, of renewable feedstock that can not only go on into existing markets, but potential new markets as well. When we move on to the next slide, you see that our growers are doing more with less. As you can see on these next few slides, our average corn production has increased in yield year over year, all while using less land and resources. And the result is an affordable, sustainable, and abundant feedstock for the bio-based chemical industry to use. Now, looking at this next slide, you'll see that the U.S. corn crop is generally split into four primary markets: domestic livestock feed, biofuel, exports, and the food and industrial use space. While there's potential for growth in all of these markets, our growers believe the best new markets would be industrial utilization, specifically renewable chemicals. We believe that we are at the cusp of the next industrial revolution, and that revolution will be based on biorenewables, not fossilized carbon. So I want to take a moment to talk about some of our previous Consider Corn challenges. To date, we've had 3 Consider Corn challenges and have awarded $450,000 in prize money to 15 winners across these 3 previous challenges. These winners have gone on to achieve significant results. They've received additional funding, not only from federal grants, but also public and other private grants as well. They've had investors that have entered into joint agreements with them to take their technology to the next level. They've obtained registration for state bio-based production incentives, and they've scaled up to the next phase of development. I think it's important to note that across all of our 15 Consider Corn Challenge winners to date, all of them continue to work towards commercialization, which is something truly incredible to say when it comes to startups in this space. I want to take a moment to walk through a couple examples of the previous 2 Consider Corn Challenge winners. You'll probably recognize quite a few on this screen. Like I've said, quite a few of these have entered into joint agreements and takeoff agreements to take their technology to the next level. You can see on here the icons from the first 2 challenges, and I want to take a moment to highlight we have one of our previous Consider Corn Challenge winners, Gordon Selling from USDA, the Ag Research Center, or Ag Research Service there at the Peoria Center. And I just wanted to take a moment to, Gordon, have you introduce yourself to those that are either listening now or will be listening in the future, to talk about your technology, and then I'll ask you a couple questions about your participation in Consider Corn Challenge. Gordon, thank you for joining us.
Great, thanks very much, appreciate it. I think we got a lot out of this whole process. The technology that we worked on is developing amylose inclusion complexes, which is it's been around for 100 years, but people could only make gram quantities, and it could take days to make a few grams. And we developed a technology that can make pounds very quickly. And by doing that, we've developed some really high value end uses for cornstarch. The aspect of these complexes that we went into for this challenge was their use as emulsifiers and surfactants. And we have found what we found out of this whole process is sometimes it's hard to find stakeholders and partners. And through the gosh, I forget there are those 10-minute interview sessions. Help me out, Sarah.
When we announced your winning year, it was at BioWorld Congress, and we had helped kind of coordinate some of these one-on-one industry discussions.
That was an amazing opportunity, hopefully, because it really opens up possibilities to get your technology out there. And we developed quite a few material transfer agreements so we send our material around the world. We are now working with 4 other companies on this. Now, at this point in time, it's still not, it's not commercial, but we've got a lot of partnerships with both government agencies and private companies. It really helped start this whole process. And going through that formal process, we looked at our technology a little bit differently as we're trying to apply for this award. And that helped us to, focus in and really just do a better job overall on getting this technology into a shape that somebody cares. So it was to some extent, the funds that were given, which we do appreciate, obviously, but the funds were really only, a small part of it. The other things were much more important.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing that, Gordon. And I did want to highlight, too, some of the winners from our 3rd Consider Corn Challenge as we're about to launch our 4th, and highlight that some of these technologies have received also additional funding from our state partners as well as other partners across the industry. And Gordon, when we get to the Q&A, I might ask you some of the Q&A from a solution provider perspective. So,
sure.
So to build on the success of some of our previous Consider Corn challenges, the 4th Consider Corn challenge, which we're about to launch, is really seeking empowering technology approaches that enable access to a new market for U.S. field corn, with preferences given to entries that focus on one or more of these 5 areas listed above. The first one is the novel mixes of PLA, PBS, and PLH, or other combinations of molecules for the purpose of time degradable plastic. Shelf life information, should you enter in this category, should be included in submission, as well as details that address these corn-derived plastics. The second, we're also looking for novel mixes of corn-derived plastics. An example would be something like a glucose-derived PHA, and PBS, or another bio-based compostable with high tensile strength and environmental biodegradability. We're also interested in submissions around heavy-duty fuels or drop-in chemicals, including things like biodiesel from corn glucose derived directly from fermentation to lipids, or catalysis from ethanol, bunker fuel, and novel sustainable aviation fuel technologies. Another area of interest are carbon fiber and carbon fiber applications, such as bio-based polyacrylic nitrile. And then the fifth key area, other high-value molecules, are a platform molecule that can demonstrate at least 2 derivatives with short-term commercial application. The fourth Consider Corn Challenge is about finding game-changing new uses for field corn, leading to products with significant market demand without detracting from the existing corn market. Scoring and evaluation of entries will be based on the entry's ability to address and show alignment to NCGA's evaluation criteria. The approach must use components of the corn kernel or corn-based ethanol as the primary feedstock. The highlighted areas in this diagram are the feedstock components that we are most interested in and that will be considered for this challenge. This challenge is intended to find new and novel uses of field corn, which has significant environmental impact. We're seeking approaches that are more than just incremental improvements upon commercial processes utilizing corn. This challenge is not seeking new foods derived from corn. Your submission must not contain any confidential information, nor can you submit an approach which you don't own the represented IP or have been authorized by that IP owner to submit on their behalf. Previous winners of the Consider Corn Challenges may not submit a proposal that is essentially the same as their winning entry. However, we do encourage previous submitters who did not win an earlier challenge or who have a different idea to submit again if they've made substantial improvements and progress towards commercialization since their last contest submission, or if the submitter has identified a new market for the previously proposed approach that uses greater volumes of corn. Entries will be judged according to the potential for rapid commercialization of the proposed approach. The largest volume will also be evaluated based on the volume of corn used from the feedstocks highlighted in the earlier diagram. We'll also evaluate team history of success of developing a path to commercial or industrial scale for their projects. We will evaluate your team's identification of matching funds, support of the development of your approach through potential commercial partners, and your concise but impactful description of your technology. When it comes time to submit your entry, please download the entry form that is found on ncga.com/considercorn. The response form is an editable Word document that will guide you as you prepare your entry submission in this challenge. On the response form, you will find all the required information to prepare your entry. Your entry, again, must include only non-confidential information. As far as for what your entry will include, again, you can see this in the Word document on the website at ncga.com/considercorn, but we'll walk through some of the specifics. You must provide a description of your proposed approach, including which of the 5 key areas your approach addresses. Please include as much information about the type of corn feedstock your approach requires and in what volumes. Describe the technical maturity and availability of samples. Also include your budget and funding and listing any financial support you have secured for the development and commercialization of your technology. Please also provide a description of your team members, their background and experience in commercializing new technologies. When it comes time to submit your entry, you can attach your entry form as well as any additional files to an email to be emailed to considercorn@ncga.com. In the past, we've had successful entries include sometimes a short video presentation, only 2 to 5 minutes, to pitch your approach and your capabilities. This is something you can provide a link if that's something you wish to do, but is not required. Like I said earlier, we're really excited to announce that this year we have a large prize pool of $250,000 that will be split equally between 1 to 6 winners. selected based on the strength of their proposed approaches. As we stated earlier, all 15 winners of the previous Consider Corn challenges have received national media recognition and assistance in accelerating their pathway to commercialization. In addition to the cash prize, NCGA is prepared to extend support for other entries, even if they're not selected for the cash award. Participating in the Consider Corn Challenge 4 provides an opportunity to take your technology to the next level. So I want to take a few moments to talk through some frequently asked questions. First, we often hear, what happens to my IP if I accept a prize? We definitely want to make sure that you keep anything confidential to yourself that you wouldn't want shared with NCGA. Your IP, even if you accept the prize, remains with yourself and your organization. Another question we also get is, who is going to be the ultimate licensee of this technology? Can NCGA assign the IP to some company? Again, just want to reiterate that the intent of the competition is to encourage you to suggest your technology solutions and innovations to NCGA. Participation in the competition and acceptance of the cash award does not obligate you to enter into any business relationship or sign any commercial agreement. So your non-confidential entry will, if it is selected, will be based on the relationship that will be worked out between you and us as NCGA. You can also refer to the terms and conditions that are found on our site at ncga.com/considercorn. Gordon alluded to this earlier, that the prize may not seem adequate for funding the full proposal. How will my proposal be funded? So we recognize that through the first 3 challenges, that the prize pool that we're offering may not be enough for any individual company to always continue the research in its entirety, but it's a start. The real value, as Gordon demonstrated, that we see as winners of this Consider Corn Challenge, are opportunities to leverage NCGA's network across the biotech industry and how we help elevate the profile of our winners. We have had a lot of communications that come out of winning the Consider Corn Challenge. And for example, we've had winners in the past have to leave the announcement conferences early to go make samples for interested parties. And when you look through the proposals and questions that we're asking, the application process isn't as long as something like a federal grant or otherwise. And so that's a really great way to get your technology out there, and something we continue to assist all of our Consider Corn Challenge winners with today is getting out in front of potential partners. Another question that we often receive is, would a list of commercialization partners and why they would be a good fit be important? That's something that absolutely you should include if you have other commercialization partners or folks that are interested in your technology. That demonstrates viability in the marketplace and interest from other folks, and will definitely appeal to our judges. We sometimes get questions about who our judges are. We do not announce who our judges are, but we do enlist a panel of experts from across the industry to help evaluate the submissions and to select our winners. We also get asked, what technology readiness levels are we seeking in this challenge? I often like to refer to the Department of Energy's technology readiness level chart, and you'll see on here that we're most interested in technologies that are at a TRL level of 3 or above. Obviously, something that's in the 5, 6, 7 range is going to score extra points, but like I said, we're looking for a variety of different entries, and anything 3 or above will be considered. Now I want to turn to any questions and answers, and I know I've gotten some from folks that were not able to attend. So I'll start there, and then if you have a question for those of you that are listening in, please just feel free to raise your hand. We received a question about how long should the proposal be. Again, you'll see that there's a Word document that helps guide your submissions. This is something that isn't intended to be a thesis. You can keep it to fairly concise answers, and we can always ask additional questions should we have them or should our judges have them. In the past, we've gone back and our judges have had a question, and we've allowed some time for them to ask that of the entries and to resubmit based on the judge's questions. But we ask that you download the entry form and answer the questions and provide the information that's requested to the best of your ability in as much detail as you can. Just remember that they need to be non-confidential when it comes to submitting those answers. We also get questions around the criteria that will be used to decide who are the winners. We walked through earlier some of the criteria that we specifically score on the rubric, but anything that you can demonstrate as far as volume of corn, the technical novelty of the entry that you're submitting will be considered, the viability, having a good understanding of the marketplace in which you want to target and potentially apply the technology into will be pretty crucial as far as criteria. And again, any times that you've had previous maybe research or grants or awards, that's always important to include. Or if it's a completely novel new technology, having different opportunities to illustrate the markets that these can go into would be really important. Another question that I received via email prior to this webinar is there an expected timeline for project completion if awarded? We definitely want to have these technologies in the marketplace sooner rather than later, but we recognize that a lot of these technologies are 3 to 5 to 7 years out. So that said, we don't stipulate a timeline attached with the funding of the awards, but we do like to stay in touch with our Consider Corn Challenge winners to see how they're doing. But we don't assign an expected timeline for project completion. No. This next question I'll ask maybe to Gordon, is there anything you wish you would have known coming into the challenge or coming into this process?
Well, I guess, as you pointed out, Sarah, it is easier than you might think. And that when you might start trying to dig into into preparing your case, if you will, I think you might put in some barriers, self-imposed barriers into this. And the process really is pretty straightforward. And I think you've kind of laid it out there just now. And it is easier to do this than many other grant opportunities out there. So, because again, I think the NCGA, you've got very much a vested interest in ensuring the best technology gets the support. So if you've got something good, the corn growers, they want to help you succeed. So it is a little bit different relationship than with some other agencies. And so I think sometimes people feel a little daunted. Don't feel daunted about the process.
Thanks, Gordon. Any questions from those that are on the Zoom right now?
Oh, this is Junie from the university. I just put a message on the chat screen.
Okay.
I get a refer from Indiana Corn Market Council associate.
Yep.
I'm wondering, I see most of previous winners are from the company or USDA. I'm wondering, is the university would be eligible to apply this funding or not?
Absolutely, yeah, and thank you for bringing up that question. We absolutely welcome universities to apply. We've had South Dakota State University was actually a winner of one of our first Consider Corn challenges. So I absolutely encourage universities to apply. We are open to a variety of applicants. So yes, please.
And then another question is about the budget, because for the university, if we submit a proposal, we need to go through the office. We need to provide the amount of a budget. I don't know, because you said it's maybe 1 to 6. It's hard to decide what amount of budget we should put in, right?
Yeah, so I would recommend in this case, if there's a specific element of your technology that you think could utilize the funds, demonstrating, even if it's just for one phase, for example, that could be something that you include include a budget for how you would utilize the funds. Because again, we recognize that even if, say, there's only one winner and you get the full 250,000, maybe that will be enough. But if we choose 6 winners, the 50,000 will not necessarily be enough for the full projects. So as far as it comes to submitting your budget, I would recommend either you can submit your full budget for the proposal, or if you have just a segment of research that you're hoping to accomplish to help take your technology to the next level, you could submit that. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, sure. So about I have more questions about.
Okay.
So the other question is about the industry partner. Do we need to come with industry partners or no?
No, you do not have to have any commercialization or industry partners. We just, if you were to have any, we would just say definitely include those in your submission. But if you don't have any existing, that's okay. You can still enter.
For the TRL level, I see, it's pretty different from current industry level, right?
Yes.
So it's like a small amount could be like a very high TRL level, right?
Really looking for things that utilize the field corn, starch from the kernel. We're not necessarily interested in proposals that would utilize stover, for example.
Okay. So for the starch, so we can modify the starch as the feedstock to other applications, right?
Yes, that would be an acceptable feedstock. Yes.
So another issue is we must have an IP so that we are eligible to apply this proposal. If we don't own the IP, like it's kind of a new concept, new ideas, we cannot apply this proposal.
You can, yes. Just if you're using someone else's IP, we just ask that you have their permission and that you don't share anything that that is confidential. But yeah, if you don't have a patent, you can still enter the contest. Yes.
Okay, so that means we like this kind of a concept stage, we still can apply this one, right?
Correct. Yes, we would just ask that you. Let me go back to that. We would just ask that you've demonstrated at the.
Yeah, I think it's ineligible for here if you don't have an IP. I don't know.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, for the ineligible, this is you must have an IP on.
If it's
the next one, submission from individuals who do not own the. Oh, I understand. This is if you use other people's IP, you must get the approval from the other people. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I understand. So thank you.
Sure.
So by the way, okay, my name is Haiyemo. I'm from UC Berkeley and Stanford University. So for I have two IP is from UC Berkeley and Stanford. So only one IP can be selected in this proposal, right?
Are you asking, can you enter two submissions?
Yeah. So for example, from Stanford and UC Berkeley, should I include both IP in the proposal, or I only can have one IP included in the
we would ask for, if it's two different IPs, two different technologies, that you could do two separate submissions, yes, but don't do it all in one. If there's a specific if you're saying that the two IP go together for the new technology, then you could insert it in one submission. But if they're separate, you could do two submissions just separate. Does that help answer your question?
Oh yeah, and if we can include two professors in the should it be only one IP?
No,
two IP, right?
I think you misunderstand. IP here is intellectual properties, the patent, not the PI.
Oh, not the PI. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, but if you do have multiple people on the project, that's fine. Yes.
Okay, I got you. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks.
Other questions?
I think that's also what I want to ask you. Maybe we can come up with more questions later. I can send an email to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And our email is considercorn@ncga.com. If there's any questions, we're happy to answer those. And I know I had another question kind of come in from someone that wasn't able to join today. That was, if they have a novel approach using corn that does not fit within the 5 areas, are they still eligible to participate? Yes, absolutely. We just had given those areas as kind of a guideline for things that we have already had a lot of industry interest from. And so that would be something that would be preferred, but definitely if you have something that falls outside of those 5 areas, please feel free to submit. And then the other question that I had, what type of assistance can NCGA help beyond the challenge to progress ideas to commercialization? As we talked a little bit about earlier, you know, it's not just the funding, it's a lot of the PR and the communication and the connections beyond the challenge that really help set our Consider Corn Challenge winners apart. As I said, we're always willing to write letters of support. We go on to connect our winners with folks that may be interested in licensing or purchasing that technology. And so it's really a lot of what happens after you're a winner that is the most exciting. And then the last question I received via email prior to this was, does the selection process happen in stages? Will the panel representative reach out to us if they have additional questions? So yes, we typically review all of the entries and then select the top entries that then we then take to the judging panel to review, and they will either whittle it down further or select the 1 to 6 winners. And as I mentioned earlier, if there are questions or any follow-up needed, we do welcome the judges to ask those questions, and we can take it back to the entries to get that further clarification for the judges. All right. I would encourage those that are interested in applying to visit the challenge site, which is ncga.com/considercorn. Feel free to ask questions via or email at considercorn@ncga.com, or take a look through the website. We have our terms and conditions on there, as well as lots of details around the entry form, etc. Yep, the email for you there, it's considercorn@ncga.com. Like I said, we're looking for entries by June 30th. Then we'll notify the winners in September in advance of the San Francisco event. Are there any final questions before we wrap up today? All right. Well, with that, appreciate you all tuning in for the virtual webinar and look forward to your entries.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah.